Hey everybody, Andy from Sound of Muzak. What's going on? We got a new video today. Let's talk new music. I probably shouldn't have clapped my hands, keeping it in. Hey, speaking of, can't tell, but we've got a microphone that we're kind of testing out today. So I guess apologies in advance if the audio doesn't come out as good. But we'll fix all of that in post. It's fine. Yeah, so as mentioned, we're gonna talk new music or new music, huh? All right, enough. We're gonna talk new music, and we're gonna do a top 10. Only this is gonna be a short top 10. If you've been following me on my Journey Through Muzak series, so far I've talked about my top 10 favorite records released in 1965, 1966. In 1967. 68 is almost in the can. Those videos, the 10 records I talk about, very in-depth, almost like mini reviews for each one. Not doing that here. We're just going to talk about 10 records I really loved this year. Couple reasons for that. One, time. But also, I didn't get around to too many records that were released now this past year. I want to say total, maybe I got to 25 records that came out in 2022. And these are really only the 10 that I spent the most time with. All fantastic records. 4 stars are up on the old RYM scale. And we're just going to get into it. Talk some records. Okay, so at number 10, we have the new Always record, Blue Rev. So Always is a band, I believe, from Australia. And it's their 3rd record. 5-year gap in between records. Their last record, Anti-Socialites, was how I initially got into them a couple years ago. And sound-wise, the best way I can describe this record is just sort of a mix of dream pop, shoegaze, and neo-psychedelia. My favorite tracks off the record are After the Earthquake and Many Mirrors, and that is a 4 out of 5 that I'm giving the new Always record, Blue Rev. Number 9, we have the new Viagra Boys record, Cave World. Just like with Blue Nightshade, this is their 3rd record. And this is sort of like a dance punk, industrial rock, synth pop record. And it's just a fun record for that matter. Just very punky to its core as far as the instrumentation goes. The drums in particular are so killer. And for me, this has probably been one of the best punk records that I've heard in a very long time. Punk should have 3 main characteristics to it. A lack of elitism, an acceptance of unique musical ideas, and just rebellion and angst, aggression. This checks all 3. I will admit at times the lyrics can be a tad bit on the cheese side of things, but a little bit of cheese doesn't hurt, right? The lyrics are very, very of the now, very, very relevant to today, so I can always jive with that, of course. I will say the second half of this record does kind of fall apart a little bit, but the first half is great, with favorite tracks specifically, such as the Punk Rock Loser and the Cognitive Trade-Off Hypothesis. I'm also giving this record a 4 out of 5. Coming in at number 8, we have Hellfire by Black Midi, another band. This is their 3rd record as well, too. And like always, actually, I got into Black Midi with their 2021 release, Cavalade. Fantastic record. And Hellfire kind of just continues where Cavalade left off, but is an even better record. These guys are kind of a mix of art rock, maybe a little bit of prog, but also some jazz rock as well, too. This is a very whimsical group, very intelligent group as far as the lyrics go. And they're just a blast to listen to when the mood is right. They also are pretty well known for their covers. They do a fantastic cover of King Crimson's 21st Century Schizoid Man, as well as Talking Heads' Psycho Killer. Both covers are worth checking out. also lads from the UK, fun fact. And yeah, just a great record. Some of my favorite tracks in particular are Sugar/Zoo and Welcome to Hell. And we're giving the new Black Midi record 4 out of 5. Number 7, we have Cheat Codes by Danger Mouse and Black Thought. Black Thought, of course, from The Roots. And this is a abstract East Coast hip-hop record, and which hip-hop, we never talk about that on this channel, so it's a fine addition, if you will, being the first hip-hop record I think either co-host Robbie or I have talked about. And this one kind of passed me by, and I didn't even realize it was a thing till a buddy of mine recommended it to me a couple months ago. And typically records like this, where you have two geniuses collaborating together, the final product itself tends to be subpar at best. I think of something like the Captain Beefheart Frank Zappa record that they did in the mid-70s. I'm blanking out on that name. Just an okay record at best, at least by their standards. Not the case here. These two, they both just bring in their own individual styles, what makes them both so great. But just together, it's just this refreshing sound. This, along with another record in my top 10, are just records when it comes to hip-hop that I just haven't been this excited about in a long time. This is just a transcendent record. And you have tons of features on here, of course, ranging from Raekwon to Kid Sister, Joey Badass, Run the Jewels, A$AP Rocky, etc. Oh, and of course, we can't forget the late MF Doom as well, too. As of now, I'm giving this record a 4 out of 5. I feel like this is one, the more I continue to listen, it's going to probably hit the 4.5 scale. Today, it's a 4. Great record, check it out. Some of my favorite songs on this one are the title track, Cheat Codes, as well as Aquamarine. Sorry, I can read. Number 7. And number 6, we have A Light for Attracting Attention by The Smile. The Smile is a Radiohead side project with Tom York and Johnny Greenwood, but also features a guy named Tom Skinner from a band called Son of Kemet, who is a band I've yet to check out, but really need to get around to if his contributions to this record is anything to go by. Initially, when I heard this record, I loved it, but it felt like it could have been the logical follow-up to Radiohead's last record, A Moon-Shaped Pool. I kind of take that back a little bit because I really do feel that this record is its own thing. Especially some of the intense, almost like nightmarish drumming, jazz drumming, that Thomas Skinner plays throughout this record. I don't think you would hear on a Radiohead record. They've explored jazz, don't get me wrong, but this is a record that I think is its own thing. And I think largely because it doesn't have the name Radiohead attached to it, so it just ceases all expectation as to what a Radiohead record should or shouldn't sound like. This record's just a lot of fun. It's, again, I'm going to be a cliche here and just say that this is another vibe record. A little bit of art rock mixed with math rock, mixed with jazz rock, and then kind of everything in between. You get York's usual transcendent vocal delivery, some crunching Johnny Greenwood guitar that we haven't heard maybe since Hail to the Thief, and Skinner's contributions I just can't state enough, just really make this record unique in of itself. Radiohead side projects tend to be hit or miss for me, but this is bar none the best one and stands up against some of the best Radiohead records in my opinion. Some of my favorite tracks are The Opposite and Open the Floodgates, and I'm giving this record a 4 out of 5. And at number 5, we're in the top 5 now. This is my first 4.5 out of 5 record, by the way. We have The Ruby Chord by Richard Dawson. Richard Dawson was another guy I got into last year with his collaborative record that he did with the post-rock band Circles. And that record, of course, is called Henke. I'm saying, of course, as if you know this. You probably don't. Anyways, that record also made my top 10 for 2021. The Ruby Chord, however, actually ties in a trilogy called the Trilogy of Time with 2017's Peasants, which is sort of got like this medieval vibe to it. Then you have 2019's 2020, which its themes talk about the present day. And then you have the Ruby Chord, which is the future. This is a very folky, little bit of post-rock thrown in there as well, too. It's a long record. The first track, The Hermit, which is bar none the best track off the record, is 41 minutes. So you might as well consider this a double record, even though the one track is 41 minutes. Another track I like is called The Tip of an Arrow. It's the other longer track off the record, clocking in over 10 minutes, I believe. And this is just a really great record. This is another one that the more I listen to, it just continues to grow. Check it out. It's my number 5. The Ruby Chord by Richard Dawson. And again, that is a 4.5. Okay, coming in at number 4, I alluded to this one before. It's my other hip-hop record on my top 10. And that's going to be the new Billy Woods record, Ethiops. This record, I would say, is more on the experimental side of hip-hop, a little bit of jazz thrown into there as well, too. And it's a very niche record compared to most rap that you hear these days. And I just find this record simply captivating. I love Billy Woods' lyrics on this particular record, and just the imagery is outstanding as well. It doesn't help that Preservation, who's on the production side of things, definitely adds in a lot of those elements as well too that make this record just stand out for me. And the sequencing is just stellar. I love the beats on this are killer, incredible guitar, it's very minimal, doesn't overstay its welcome. Great harmonica even here and there, and some of the jazzy percussion really stands out for me as well. Kind of creates this like post-apocalyptic vibe, if you will. Some of my favorite tracks off this record are No Hard Feelings, Wharves, and Versailles. This is my favorite hip-hop record of the year, and I'm giving it a 4.5 out of 5. Number 3, another record that kind of just snuck up on me out of nowhere. And apologies in advance because I'm probably going to butcher this name. But my number 3 is De Todas Las Flores, there we go, by Natalia Lafourcade. This was the Needle Drops, number 1, when he did his top 50 records of 2022, I believe it was. So of course I had to check it out. And I've never heard of her before. And I'm glad I checked this out at the last minute. Part of the reason why this video got delayed, actually. She's a multi-Latin Grammy award-winning artist. And this is sort of a mix of Mexican folk music, vocal jazz, chamber jazz, little bit of Baroque in there as well, too. And this record is just simply gorgeous. Another cliche word we're using in this video, but I told you these weren't going to be in-depth reviews of these records. The orchestral arrangements throughout just take the center stage. The musicianship is top-notch. Everything about this is just incredible. Of course, not really knowing what she's necessarily saying as far as the lyrical department goes, it doesn't matter because her vocals just make up for it. I mean, I could just get lost listening to her singing, let alone just the arrangements on this record. Some of my favorite tracks, again, might butcher these names, please forgive me. Vine Solita, the title track, De Todas Las Flores, and El Lugar Correcto. And I'm, again, probably should have looked these up ahead of time. I didn't. Check it out, though. This is another 4.5 out of 5. I could see this record being a 5-star record down the road. But for today, it's a 4.5. And that is my number 3. Number 2 is Dragon, New Warm Mountain, I Believe in You by Big Thief. This record, I pretty much fell in love with it back when it came out in the beginning of the year. And just, it continues to grow every time I listen. It is a double record. This is, I believe, Big Thief's 5th record. And I've been slowly kind of just revisiting their back catalog, and this is one of my favorite new bands right now. I just can't get enough of them. They're an indie rock band, but I would say there's some folk, some Americana, a little bit of psychedelia in there, and even country as well. Actually, I would throw in shoegaze as well. There's a couple tracks that borderline. They're basically shoegazy, which is amazing, of course. And going off of that, I just love the variety on this record and the experimentation, the flow and the atmosphere of this record, especially taking into consideration it is a double record. Double records do tend to fall off that bandwagon, and the fact that this record just keeps you interested and on the tip of your toes throughout is telling, really. But it's also a very playful record. 20 songs on this record, and they were all recorded amongst 4 different recording studios. I can go on about this record. Maybe I will do my own separate review on it one day. Looking forward to seeing Big Thief in March. I'm so excited. Some of my favorite tracks are Spud Infinity, Sparrow, and Little Things. And this record is a 4.5 out of 5 for me. And my number 2. All right, here we go. Number 1. And despite Big Thief's record being a very close number 1, it's this record for me without a doubt. And that is Black Country New Road's 2nd record, Ants from Up There. And actually, maybe you can tell that's their debut over here. Which their debut, by the way, for the first time is How I Got Into Them, and that was my runner-up for my top 10 for 2021. And oh boy, do they just pick up where they left off on that record and just further push their sound. I would describe this as art rock, post-rock, indie rock. This is almost like Slint meets Arcade Fire, early Arcade Fire specifically. And this record is just, I can't tell you the last time I've loved a rock record this much, let alone a rock record being my number 1. This record makes me so excited about new music. I was saying to my fiance the other day that this is the first band, and maybe it's just I'm getting to a point in my life where this is the first record where the generation after me, below me, Gen Z, this generation has got me really excited about what's to come with music with these next few years, especially if this record is anything to go by. As great as their debut was, this record I just think has more variety. It's a little bit more accessible without being pandering, but it's still every bit as dark as their debut as well. Some of my favorite tracks off this record are Chaos Space Marine, Concord, and my favorite song off the record and my favorite song of the year, The Place Where He Inserted the Blade. That track is just gut-wrenching. Check that song out. But check the whole fucking record out. I am giving this record a 5 out of 5. It's my only 5-star for this list, but yeah. I gotta say, I think so far this has been my favorite year. out of the 2020s. I think 2022 takes the cake. I'm hoping that 2023 is even better. My goal for 2023 is to listen to more new releases. Maybe we'll even go for a top 20 when we record that video. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Wanted to talk about some new music for a change. I didn't mention at the top of the video that the reason why this wasn't as in-depth as some of my other top 10s is because by the time we get to 2022 and the Journey Through Muzak series, the list may look different, you know. Time definitely changes our opinion on things, and yeah, so you'll just have to stay tuned whenever we get to that list. So that's it for today's video. Please like, subscribe, and we'll get another one to you soonish. Take care, guys. Bye.